Okay, so what we want to do tonight is talk a little bit about installing Windows. There's nothing really tough about installing Windows. It hadn't been for years, has there? I mean, you probably all have done it.
No, that's...
Just next.
No.
The thing that you really need to pay attention to with the next is, what does that screen actually say? We've had some people getting into trouble, but just next, and oh golly, something doesn't work anymore. Be careful of those things because they will get you. The other thing we're going to do is to migrate from Windows XP to Windows 7. A lot of businesses skipped Windows Vista. A lot of individuals skipped Windows Vista. Ran XP until there was a Windows 7. There's no direct path upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 7. So what we typically do is call it a migration. There are two tools, USMT, User State Migration Tool, and Windows Easy Transfer is the other tool that you can save all the configurations. What you're doing is saving all the registry entries for the users. Save their My Documents, save their configurations, their desktop, their backgrounds, their favorites in the Explorer, and all that stuff that's in Windows XP documents and settings. You save those. Basically what you do is you save those someplace else, install Windows 7 on the Windows XP machine, bring those back in, and then reinstall your applications. Because we know that all of you own your applications, right? Now you have to reinstall them, but once you reinstall them, all of the configurations come back. Microsoft Office, you do this, you reinstall it. If you had the directory someplace else, and any of the other configurations that you had in Microsoft Office will come back. So it's a way to do that. That's what businesses are doing. We've had a number of students who actually have been doing that. Matt was doing that for a long time. The objective is how to plan a Windows installation. And there are all sorts of checks and balances about how to plan a Windows installation. Is the hardware compatible? Those kinds of things. Most hardware actually is compatible. They have this thing, and they call it used to be called the hardware compatibility list. They've changed the name of it, but what it is a location that you go and see if your hardware is on that list, which means it's been tested by Windows and approved to install whichever version. Just because it's not there doesn't mean it's not going to work. What it means is that the manufacturer, Windows Catalog, I think is what it's called, the manufacturer paid them to test it, so they put it on the list and get some drivers. How to install Windows 7, the objective is how to install Windows 7. Again, not that big a deal. It's mostly just reading the screens and going next. There is at the front end, there's a what you need to know. If you haven't ever done it before, you may want to look in there. If you've done it before and had looked in there, you may want to look and see what that says, just so that you will know that. What to do after the installation. We're going to be using virtual machines. There's one section of the book, it says install on the VM and then install on the hardware. There's no difference in the installs. These after installations are when you name the computer, make the user, put the time zone in, pick the network, and I think that I have most of that stuff in the lab document. There's not a whole lot that has to be done after it gets done. The other thing you'll have to do, and I will show you, and there is a short video on the web page, I call the VM post install. What we have to do is put a piece of software on the virtual machines called just the VM tools, which does a better job of mapping the software to the hardware. Your machine, until you do this, is going to be absolutely miserable to use. Okay? So that's about the first thing that we want to do after you get to the desktop is to install that. And again, I'll show you at the end of this how to do that. Because I installed one this afternoon that is miserable to operate that we can put the VM additions is actually what it's called onto it. VMware calls it VMware Tools, Cisco calls it, or Cisco. Microsoft calls it VM additions. So it's something that helps the virtual machine work more closely with the hardware that it's running on. Special concerns when installing in large enterprises. These are the tools that we kind of talk about. They have, and we have the DVD, the ISO actually, because you can mount an ISO to a virtual machine. We don't have to have DVDs and CDs. We can have ISOs. And install the Windows Automated Installation Kit. They have a very brief little section, and basically what you're going to do is install it. And then the user state migration tool is available when you do the migration in XP. You can either use it or the Windows Easy Transfer. Personally, I would recommend the Windows Easy Transfer. I think it's much more straightforward. When you have to reinstall new hard drive, existing Windows is corrupt, operating system upgrade. Basically, doesn't work anymore. It broke. One of the things that you shouldn't expect to happen when you upgrade is if you're having a problem with a system when you upgrade it, that's not going to fix the problem. It's just going to take the problem to the new installation. So, operating systems upgrade, the system corrupt, and this is where we talked about last time. If Windows is corrupt and you have to format that partition, if you had, when you installed it, created two partitions, one for your operating system and one for your applications and your data, when this is corrupt and you have to format your Windows partition, all the other stuff is still there. So you can get your data back. Think about that. And separate partitions are good, separate hard drives are even better. So that you've got more separation of these things. Operating system upgrade, there's a lot of that going on right now. And believe it or not, as long as Windows 7 has been around, a lot of companies, including the one next door over here, just in the past year have done a major push to upgrade from XP to Windows 7. So the migration is still going on in a lot of places.
Well, the extra hard disk she was talking about, my dad's got a system where he's got 2 terabyte hard drives, and if it runs one, and if that has a problem, the other one kicks right on, and the other repairs itself.
Yeah.
You know, they never.
So you've got a mirror.
Right, mirror. Yeah,
mirror is always good, because you have redundancy that way. We talked about redundancy, and the other one, the different RAID levels that are supported. Mirrors are supported in Windows 7. RAID 5 is not supported in Windows 7. RAID 5 is supported in the server operating systems. We looked at this, and they've got the chart, and you can look at that. We looked at this the last time. The different editions of Windows, that's important to know if you are A, doing it for somebody else, or B, doing it, making a recommendation to the corporation, which one are you going to use? We're not going to use Starter because it's developing nations, only comes in a 32-bit version. Developing nations, think Sub-Sahara. Windows 7 Home Basics Limited, not a whole lot in it. These are the kinds of things that Microsoft got in trouble for with Vista when we had these Vista-capable machines. What that meant was it would run the operating system but don't try to do anything else, like type a document or anything. Really, don't try to do anything else. Home Basics, limited features, available only in underdeveloped countries. The Windows Home Premium is probably the first one that we're going to see. And that's what most of the machines come with that go to the home. Is that what yours had, Will, the one you bought? That's what my laptop has also, because that's what came on it. It has not quite as many features as Windows 7 Professional, which you get in your account, in your MSDNA account, whatever it's called now. You get Windows 7 Professional. You get Windows 8 Professional. All you got to do is download it. One of the big differences to me, to us as networkers here, is the networking capability of these things. You can remote desktop from a Windows 7 Home Premium machine, but you can't remote desktop to it. using the regular RDP. Professional, and this one doesn't have the ability to join a domain. Windows 7 Professional we're going to use in an environment like this. Most of these machines in here are Windows 7 Professional. A few of them are Enterprise. Some of them are Professional. What happened was we started putting Enterprise on, and then the bosses said, "Oh no, we want you to put Professional on." We didn't go back and redo the Enterprise. We just said, "Okay, here's the Professional. Just keep going." Professional works in an Active Directory environment. Enterprise is the top of the line, similar to Windows 7 Professional. Includes additional features. The additional features are the ability to encrypt the hard drive, things like that. Windows 7 Ultimate and Windows 7 Enterprise are the same piece of software. They have the same features. This one, sell the Enterprise. This one you sell to somebody that wants the Cadillac of the operating system. If you don't need BitLocker and those kinds of things, I don't know what the price difference is, because most of the stuff just gets installed here, and I have a TechNet that I use at home to do that. Multiple site licenses that aren't available in the Ultimate, they are here. What we do on the licensing, and one of the things that you won't do after it, is to register it with Microsoft, because these things are good for 30 days, and we're not going to use them for that long. What happens in our Enterprise is, instead of typing in a key, they have set up what's called a key management server, KMS server, that automatically licenses the machines as soon as they join Active Directory. Join Active Directory, get a license, which is kind of a neat way to do it. This is and this is in the book, this is a nice chart of what's available on each edition. When you take the A+, I don't know to what detail, but you may be asked. Arrow is usually something that they ask, Home Premium on up. Create home groups might be Home Premium, Professional. Home Basic can join a home group, it can't create one. So some of this stuff, and that's a matter of reading and looking at the test banks. What do you need to memorize? Some of that stuff you have to memorize. Some of it is not. When you're actually going to do it, you're going to go look it up anyway, I hope. Purchase options, retail, costs less if you purchase a license to upgrade from Vista or XP. And you can purchase and upgrade from XP. What it does is checks to see if you've actually installed the software. Those licenses cost a little less. Again, you don't really have to buy them because you get them from your MSDN AA account. Full license for any computer that has an OS other than Vista or XP. So if we're trying to bring forward a Windows 2000 machine, you can't buy the upgrade, you've got to buy the full version. OEM costs less, but can be installed on a new PC for resale only. And the OEM licenses, the ones that we get on our laptops that we get at Best Buy and Staples and those places, OEM licenses are licensed for that set of hardware only. If you buy a new machine, that doesn't authorize you to use that license on the other machine. It's only authorized for that hardware set. And it is for resale only. 32-bit, 64-bit. 64-bit's obviously the way that we want to go because it's going to be much more efficient. Says it which runs faster. The operating system will run faster because we have a bigger word size, right? So we can do more things at one time. 64-bit device drivers, 64-bit everything. It looks like they're kind of catching up. The first few times I tried to get Java for my 64-bit browser said there isn't one, but you can get it now. So 64-bit applications. You can run 32-bit applications on a 64-bit system. You can't run 64-bit on a 32-bit. If you're going to do an upgrade, you cannot upgrade from a 32-bit Vista to a 64-bit Windows 7. You can't upgrade architecture. If you're going to go from a 32-bit to a 64-bit, you've got to wipe it. You've got to do a wipe and wipe and reinstall.
Quick question.
Yes?
How do you know which bit you have?
It'll say, the hardware will say. If you've got it installed, if you look at the system page, it'll tell you if it's a 32 or 64-bit. We can look at that real quick. 32 or 64-bit, if I go in here and close about half of this stuff into the properties, see it's still as fast as it was the other night. And we go down here, this says that I'm running an 32-bit operating system. Now, we are running a 32-bit operating system because I don't know why we're running a 32-bit operating system, because I think these are 64-bit hardware. Maybe because we had a 32-bit DVD. These got installed fairly early with Windows 7.
When you change it,
The only way you can change it is to wipe it. You cannot upgrade. So I got a 32-bit Windows 7. I can't upgrade it to 64-bit. I have to reinstall it from a fresh install. Would have to be. But it is genuine here. It means that it's been approved by Microsoft. You'll get, and I was looking at some of the machines that they used the last time. You'll get sometimes a situation where it just gets old or whatever. But I was looking at one of the machines that they had done last time, and it had just been sitting around for over 30 days, and it said, you may be a victim of false hardware. Contact Microsoft. You can renew this thing. The initial install is going to be good for 30 days. You can renew it with the command, and you can look it up so you don't have to remember it. SLMGR, which is the System License Manager, and the switches dash rearm. You can make it run for up to 180 days.
Do people know it?
Without licenses. Oh yeah, it's all over the internet. And they do. I don't think they did that for us in Windows 8. I think you have to put the key code in as you install it. That was kind of a handy thing, especially in classes, because classes don't last that long. Even if you go to a conventional college, it don't last 6 months. So you can start one of these things and use the same machine through the whole class without having to buy a license for it. Although educational licenses really are not that bad, because they want you to learn how to use it. They want you to learn how to manage it and maintain it and use it. So the hardware for 32-bit, a gigahertz, memory RAM, a gig. From experience, that's not enough. I had 2 gig in my pretty weak laptop, and it is a 64-bit, and it was pretty painful until I put 4 gig. 4 gig, it seems to run fairly comfortably. The minimums are the absolute minimums. If you've got a lot of time, don't want to do a whole lot at the same time, those will probably work. Free hard drive space, 16 gig and 20 gig. The installation doesn't take that much time, but as you will hopefully notice as you do the install, it copies a bunch of files to the hard drive, does the install, and then deletes them after it gets the installation done. Video driver, DirectX 9 for both of these things, so the video driver is the same. The only real difference then is the 64-bit needs more memory and more hard drive space. And there is an advisor. Will it install the Windows 7 upgrade advisor? Can you do this with this thing? These things, the system's turned on, the mother BIOS manages it. To understand if the system qualifies, it helps to understand how the Windows relates to the hardware. We kind of have talked about that kind of stuff. Most machines today if they got anything at all, is going to install Windows 7. I think there are very few that wouldn't. Now, I'm sure you could go find one, but I think you'd have to look pretty hard. Older machines won't. Some of the older machines won't. And you can find specific things that are an issue. Not Windows 7, but I've got a server that's got 2003 on it that wanted to upgrade to Windows 8. Won't upgrade because it doesn't have a driver for the RAID controller, which doesn't mean that the rest of the hardware is fine, but the RAID controller doesn't have a driver for a 2008 server. So you may run into things like that. One more time, a warning: if you're going to upgrade a laptop or reinstall a laptop, that's probably the best thing, don't. But be sure you got a driver set for it from the manufacturer, because laptop driver sets are proprietary. They're not standard drivers. All that stuff is built to go with that particular hardware set from that manufacturer. Motherboard BIOS, 3 functions. The system BIOS, the instructions for running the hardware devices before the operating system started. The startup BIOS finds the boot device that contains the operating system, and then the setup BIOS is used to change the motherboard settings if we need to do those things. That's all in that thing. The device drivers, small programs that interface between the hardware and the software to allow us to use it. Most of them can be downloaded from the internet. You can probably eventually find one. Sometimes you can't. Not all devices, the drivers, not all manufacturers upgrade to the next version. If the device is old enough, they'll just say, "Yeah, we're not gonna bother with that." It's kind of like cars, you know. They don't always give you the new parts, or they don't always make the third party, or they make them for a while and then they stop. At a certain age, they just don't do that anymore. XP mode down here says an environment installed in Windows 7 that supports older applications. What that means is if you have applications that will only run on Windows XP, you can still install Windows 7, and with the upper end additions, you can install Windows XP mode, which runs a Windows XP virtual machine on your Windows 7 desktop. But instead of having to go back and forth, you can always do it in a virtual machine, but instead of having to go back and forth, you can map those applications through your start menu to the Windows XP mode. That's the real difference between XP mode and just an XP virtual machine. We have those differences. If it doesn't have a DVD download, lots of different ways you can do that. ISOs, there's a number of softwares that will mount ISOs. One of my favorites, one of the reasons is it's free, is a piece of software called Gizmo, which mounts ISOs. You can mount virtual hard drives. You can do a number of things with it. There's lots of open source software out there that will help you out in these areas if you don't have a DVD drive. Special considerations of factory recovery partition. Somebody was talking about that the other day. Be careful of those things. You know what the first thing it does? It wipes out everything that's on the disk. Huh? Factory goes back to the day it walked out the store. What it does is puts an image back on there, and it puts the original image back on there. Windows 7 backup has the ability to image the entire computer. You may want to do that occasionally, just in case anything happens. So you can have that thing. The other advantage that it has after you do that image, and the image is with the backup, is you can take either a WinRE, they call it Recovery Environment CD, or you can take the original installation media, and one of the options is to restore the entire PC, and it'll ask you where your backup media is. So you can restore the entire PC without installing Windows. Before Windows 7, actually before XP, I guess, if you had to do a backup, first thing you had to do was install Windows. Then you restored to that running installation. This allows you to restore from a media without actually doing the install first. Makes things a little bit quicker. actually quite a bit quicker. Installation of a virtual machine, A, that's what you're going to do. B, I hadn't really found any differences in installing a virtual machine and installing it in a physical machine. Except, now it's not even, I won't even say a little bit slower because we've got the RAID 10 going now, and it actually goes pretty fast on the file copies. Virtual machines, virtual PC, VirtualBox, VMware, all of these are available. Virtual PC is free. Download it from Microsoft. VirtualBox is free as far as I know. I don't know a whole. This is why I don't know a whole lot about it all. VMware has some pay and some free stuff. If you go to your, again, MSDNAA account, VMware Workstation is free to you. And VMware Player. Workstation allows you to create machines. Player just allows you to play machines. And create machines is create hard drives. You get a hard drive, you can do about anything with them. A virtual hard drive. Windows XP mode runs under Virtual PC. Can be installed Windows 7 Professional, Enterprise, and Ultimate, the top ends. The Enterprise that we're talking about. Things that we said could join Active Directory, basically. You can put Windows XP mode on it, which is essentially a hard drive. Type of installation, in-place upgrade, clean install, dual boot. Which are you going to do, and why are you going to do it? When would you do an upgrade? I'd cheat. I hate reinstalling all those applications. Realistically, in an enterprise, you probably should do a fresh install on everything instead of an upgrade. Because Windows gets corrupted just by using it. It's kind of like your tires wear out just by driving on them. Windows creates little niggling problems just by using it. How many of you use CCleaner? If you don't, you may want to. CCleaner, looking at me real funny. It's a free piece of free software that will do some stuff for you that Windows really should do for you, like delete the temporary files that it creates. CCleaner, yeah. Like clean up your registry. Every time I go clean up the registry, it's probably got 100 things in the registry that it wants to fix. And I always let it. It'll make a copy of it. Let it make the copy, because if it screws up and your registry is messed up, you're done, unless you can restore that copy. I've never had it mess up the registry. I'm sorry? They're all about the same. That's a good one, too. You talking about the built-in disk cleanup? I always get more with CCleaner than I do the disk cleanup. It just seems to do more. And the new one has this thing called wipe capability. You know, when you delete stuff, it doesn't go away, right? We all know that. This has the ability to make it go away. If you really want it to go away, yeah, it has a wipe ability. I did it with my cell phone. Did you? Wipe? No. That's no fun. If it's already installed, a clean install overwrites the existing, the in-place upgrade, or a dual boot. If you really absolutely positively want to keep the old version, you can do dual boot. Remember, if you're using dual boot, you can only run one of them at a time. When you do a dual boot at startup, you either pick if we were dual booting with XP and Windows 7, for instance, when it started up, we would either pick XP or Windows 7 to start.
So, say when you buy one of them discs, right?
Say again?
When you buy one of them little Windows 7 discs, the upgrade and stuff.
The DVD?
You know what I'm talking about? How do you upgrade this stuff?
How do you upgrade? Well, you buy the CD, the DVD, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. You buy upgrade version.
Well, would it only work on one computer, or you can use it?
Depends on how many licenses you buy. Most of them are licensed for a single install. And then when you go to register it at Microsoft, the second time it says, oh, no, you can't do that. You can get those things reset by calling the Microsoft help. For instance, my hard drive crashed. And it's not an OEM, it's one that I bought. It's a retail version. I should be able to install it again. But when I go there and try to activate it, it's going to say, It's already been activated. Then you have to call them, explain what happened, and they'll reset it for you. They give you a new code to put in to go with that.
Once in a while, I used to go to Kaplan University.
Yeah.
And you were able to go ahead and buy like Microsoft Office 10. And as long as you're a student, you can always go ahead and take that from one computer
to the other
another computer,
students.
And you can keep using that same code.
You can buy, we don't sell it, but you can buy from a number of different places, probably even with places like Best Buy, you can buy a student version. What you may want to consider, if you're really a poor student, is Open Office. Yeah, because it doesn't cost anything. And if you really want it to be portable, you guys ever go to portableapps.com? Should give it a shot. It's got a list of probably about 100 applications that you can put on your flash drive. Portableapps.com. One of which is LibreOffice, which is the new name for Open Office. So you could actually put this thing on a flash drive, take it wherever you want with you. These are the upgrade paths. I don't know that A+ will ask these. If you take a Microsoft test, they love to ask these. And basically what we're talking about, Vista Home Basic can go to Windows Home Basic. You can go, or to Home Premium or Ultimate. What that says is that you can go from the basic version to the basic version or one above it. You can't upgrade down. I can't take a Windows 7 Premium and upgrade it to or Windows 7. I can't take a Vista Ultimate and upgrade it to a Windows 7 Home Basic.
Why can't you downgrade a computer?
Because this is the upgrade path.
But some people, like, y'all always complain, like, some people don't like Vista.
No, Vista is the only thing. Vista is the only thing that can be upgraded.
Like people don't like Windows 8.
People don't like Windows 8. Then don't buy it, because what they did with Windows Vista and Windows XP, they had a downgrade license. So that if you bought a new machine, you could have Windows XP installed instead of Vista, because Vista really wasn't very good. Don't know that that's the case with Windows 8. If you don't like Windows 8, my recommendation, Classic Shell.
How do you get that?
You go to the internet, type in Google Classic Shell, and then go and download it. Yeah, I mean, yep. Yeah, double click, and just say yes, 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 and then pick which shell you want. And we already talked about that. So you can't upgrade from 32 to 64, 64 to 64, 32 to 32, kind of thing. Can only upgrade Windows Vista to Windows 7 after Service Pack 1 or later has been installed, those kinds of things. If you really have XP and you really want to do an upgrade, there's no direct path, but you can upgrade from XP to Vista and then upgrade from Vista to Windows 7. It takes a long time. When I did my XP machine, I did the migration. In spite of the fact that I really didn't want to reinstall all the applications, but it worked out a lot better than trying to do the upgrade. Plus the fact sometimes you're going to a newer hardware set, and the old version might not, if you take the hard drive out and put it in a new one, it might not be able to run because it's got to be the same chipset.
I had one of the
Netbooks, yeah.
The little teeny tiny one I had.
Yeah.
I was trying to go from the starter that was on 7 to the to 7 itself.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much for that netbook, isn't it?
Yeah. It kept saying, oh, you
The starter was pretty basic, right? Pretty basic when we do this thing. Choices during the installation of partition. This is one that whatever they call for, double or triple it, because Windows is going to grow. and it's going to grow a lot. Well, you saw me the other night, and I did get it done. We finally got the extended the C drive partition. Parted Magic, another piece of free software, did that partition. Did that repartitioning for us. Available space for the drive, dual boot, however we want to do it. Again, a number of choices. Actually, the real choices are upgrade if you've got Vista Service Pack 1, fresh install, recommended, dual boot. Dual boot's going to be a fresh install. None of the stuff from your original operating system is going to be visible or available. The hard drive, you can see all that, but none of the applications are going to be there. They're still installed in the other one. Administrator account. When you create these things, they did what I think is a kind of a neat thing, good thing in Windows 7 that hadn't happened before. In Windows XP, a lot of people get a lot of viruses by being the administrator all the time. 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. We had story years ago, a network administrator who loved being an administrator. He loved being an administrator so much he was always logged in as administrator. There was this virus going around called the I love you virus. He got an email from some email account at Virginia Beach and just couldn't resist finding out who loved him. And who loved him was the guy that he destroyed the server with. Because he was an administrator. And he had authority over the whole server. If you're not an administrator and you can't install that stuff, you don't have to worry about it. That's what user account control. The pop-ups about... He'd open the email. You didn't have to download anything. All you had to do was open it. Open the email. Wiped out a NetWare server.
How do you do that?
The virus.
How do you make that?
How do you make the virus? Come back to the security classes. We'll do some fooling around with viruses in the security classes.
You put viruses on people's phones too, don't you?
You can put viruses on everything. It really will digress a minute. It's getting to be really dangerous. You know what they're doing now is hacking medical equipment.
Yeah. What's so bad about that?
What if I give you a heart attack? That'd be pretty bad for you.
What if they got a monitor on you and it turns it off?
I thought you were talking about records.
No. Devices, not records. Crazy, isn't it?
They can dope you up on it. Just say you go hit that for dialysis or something.
Well, just the stuff that they use in the hospitals, the monitoring equipment. The Iranian thing, have you read about, you've heard about the Iranians, the centrifuges and the viruses that they got? Mm-hmm. I think everybody got under control now a couple years ago. Some country, and most people suspect the U.S. and Israel, infected a bunch of computers in Iran that were running the centrifuges that they're making the nuclear material with. Huh? Yeah, what it does is overspeeds the centrifuge so it burns up, while the monitoring software says it's running at normal speed. Hey, it worked.
Did the place explode?
No.
Oh, that's why.
No, they have safety.
Yeah. Network configuration. When you do the network configuration, there's a couple of ways. Pick the work network. You're going to have three choices: home network, work network, which are basically the same. The other one is public network. Public network makes some pretty severe firewall configurations. If you're at McDonald's or Starbucks or those places and you get onto their wireless, you want to say you're on a public network. What that does is it doesn't allow anybody to connect from outside to your machine, anybody, including you. Work group and domain, and basically the difference here is where is the authentication? Where's the username and password? Is it on the local computer or is it on the domain controller? when we do those things. The home group, this actually I think is pretty neat. If you want to just share stuff amongst yourself at home, and that's all it works is on the local network. You create a home group, and then whoever joins it, you can share stuff, whatever you want, videos, documents. We've got 3 machines, and instead of trying to put everything on every machine, put it on a home group and share it. You don't have to have it in one place, and then you can access it from any location. So that actually is a pretty neat thing, and it's pretty straightforward to set up. You set up the home group password, and then you join the home group, put in the password you're in. You can see everything. We're on a domain here. You can't put a domain machine in the home group. Network or the configuration domain is what we are. Domain centralized authentication, Active Directory domain controller, and those things. Client-server relationship, Active Directory. Really neat words there, right? A work group. The problem with a work group is if you have lots of users that you're going to log on and they want to share stuff, you have to have that user on every computer. Whereas in a domain environment, you only have to have them in there one time. That's the same picture they usually show for those things. Does your computer meet the minimum CPU, RAM? And these are the things that, this is kind of the checklist before you install. When you do this, take a look at it. CPU, RAM, well, we have a 1 gigahertz, and RAM we either have to have 1 or 2, depending on whether it's 32 or 64. 2 or 4 is preferable. More would be even better. Hardware partition size was 16 or 20, right?
Yeah, 16.
Is it big enough? Let me tell you something, that ain't big enough. By the way, that's not how big the partition should be. That's the amount of free space you have to have available. That's the minimum on that. Free space in the partition. Hardware and software that needs to be upgraded, that's from the Upgrade Advisor. You can do that. If you do that, the Upgrade Advisor, and actually I found that Windows 7 will kind of check it before it goes and say, you're going to have a problem. Can't upgrade because of this or because of that or whatever else. But just different things, product key, passwords, group names, just things that you can write down so that when you get there you don't have to say, okay, what do I want to use here? What I used to find out when we did group installs for servers, you know what the most difficult part of the install was? Figuring out a name. What were they going to name it? Those are the biggest discussions of everything. Device drivers are available. Device drivers are a big deal in this. Are they there? And then backup important data. This would be in an upgrade environment because regardless of how many times it's been done, there's always a possibility it's not going to work this time. If not reformatting antivirus software, one of the things to kind of pay attention to when you're installing stuff, antivirus software is probably going to slow down your installs. And some of the applications will tell you to disable your antivirus while you're doing the installs. You may want to consider that, and then after you get the install done, turn it back on and do a scan, because it really will, especially if you've got the on the continuous protection where the antivirus has to check every file, everything that comes in, and that really will slow you down. Installing Windows 7 in place, topics covered, how to install it. And I think this is where we get into the steps, which are in the book, which I'm not going to read. I think we've kind of talked about that. The steps are, yes, they're there, but honest to goodness, the steps are put it in, start it, pay attention to what's going on, read the screens. If you have a question, ask a question. There are lots of places to get those answers from. Dual boot on and on and on, different things. And the reason this is here, this is what a dual boot would look like when it starts up. Do I going to start Windows 7 or am I going to start Windows Vista? You pick which one's the default. When I used to use dual boots, actually I had a machine one time, it was a triple boot, because you can keep putting them. A dual boot doesn't mean that you're limited to disk space partitions kind of deal. That I would turn it on and then walk away, and then I'd always get the wrong one installed. Sorry.
They can be older too, can't they?
Yeah, when you do dual boots, install the oldest operating system first. And if you're going to do dual boot with Linux, install Linux last, because it installs a partition manager. That you can put a partition manager in, but it's a lot easier to do Linux and let it do the partition manager for you. Upgrade DVD, Sometimes you might need to use an upgrade DVD when replacing a hard drive. Reinstall, see, this is one of those things, reinstall Vista or Windows XP and install Windows 7 as an upgrade. That's kind of a pain, but if you're using the upgrade disk, that's the way you've got to go. The one that you get is not an upgrade disk. You won't activate Windows. One of the steps in there says activate Windows. We're not going to activate Windows. Verify network access. Yeah, you can do that. Look on the internet. And this is the one we get into. This is when you get at this point during the going through pick. And it doesn't really matter if you do home or work. I just picked work because it's closest one up. From the default is public, and we really don't want public right now. You can change those after you get it installed. It's not like it's an absolute crisis if anything happens. All this stuff can be changed once you get there. Install Windows updates and service packs. What I recommend you do and recommend in the lab you do is don't do this yet. When you get ready to leave tonight, say, okay, go update yourself. Because can you imagine how many updates you're going to have with a brand new install? No service packs, no nothing on it. It's going to take a while. You don't want to sit and watch it, drag it down. So do the other stuff, and then when you get done with your Windows 7 machine, go ahead and say, okay, now go update. Go update yourself. Verify automatic updates. I think I just have you change the time just so you know where to go to change this stuff. Install hardware. Uninstall the NIC and reinstall the NIC. Nothing really dramatic in those things. You can set up a couple of accounts and transfer or restore user data. You'll do this in the second lab where you do the Windows XP migration. So, and I don't think I even ask in this one that you do that. Turn Windows features on and off. Turn the games off. And this is also, you see where this stuff is. It's a lot easier when you go to do testing to answer questions about things that you've done rather than things that you have heard about or seen pictures of. You may recall some of those things. And again, we're not going to do the activate. Updates and service packs, this is just the how you do it. No real dramatic. And configure automatic updates. Instead of talking about that, you'll just do it. It's just a matter of going in and picking which way you want to do it. Do you want it to download them? Do you want it to download and install them? There are a number of different things, ways that you can pick to do that. The default, and they're usually on these tests, are usually big on the defaults for things like this. So take a look at that when you get there. And again, I've asked you to change it from the default. Install hardware. I'm guessing that a lot of this isn't happening, not finding hardware. Now, this is some really old hardware, because these things do a really excellent job with plug and play. The device manager, there's an activity to go look at that. There's a lot of hidden devices, and one of the things I'd like for you to do is show the hidden devices just so that you see what's there, what kind of things that they do have available in there. With legacy devices, legacy means old, which also means you may not be able to find the driver. Driver's not loaded correctly, gives errors. Try searching the internet or Windows 7 driver and then give up and go buy a new one that you can find a driver for. This is the hidden devices, install applications. You've probably all already done that. The antivirus software, I'm not going to ask you to do that because it's virtual machines. They're only going to last for a short period of time. They're going to rip them out. So, but for real, you want to do that. Lots of free ones, including Microsoft Security Essentials out there. A lot of people are running it. It's free. Free AVG. Avast. Avast is one that you may not have heard of. It's a pretty good piece of software for free. And it seems to not take as many resources as AVG, because in one of the security classes, the lab called for an installation of AVG, which just about killed our virtual machine. To put Avast on it ran just fine. But all of those things are available. Install and uninstall applications. Whatever we want to do here. Set up a user account. Do that just so you know what it is. Two different accounts, a standard user and administrator. Standard users can run applications. Administrators can install applications. We do those things. Turn the games off. Add or remove features. And this is kind of something that sometimes is interesting to look through. What's there that it doesn't put on. What's not there. But they have a whole list of things, and checked is everything underneath, and the plus obviously is that there's a drop down there. The solid means that part of it is installed. Procedure install Windows drivers, deployment strategies for these things. You can read about this. This is all part of probably a higher level than you're going to do. We got high touch and low touch. High touch with retail media. High touch means that we're going to answer some questions. We're going to click. Low touch means that we're going to create an answer file, which we can do with the automated installation kit, and just put it in a policy and it'll do the installs for us with all the answers. You don't have to do anything. That's what a low touch is. You don't have to. You get it started and then you just walk away and it finishes the install. We'll do some of that in the server course. High touch and low touch, and this is how many machines you have. If you have 1,000 machines, you don't want to sit down at them. 100 machines, you probably can. It's not real comfortable, but you can probably get away with it. You can use the Windows Automated Installation Kit or third-party software. This is for drive imaging. I thought about that. You'll create images in the Windows 7 course. So it's kind of, yes, you can do it. Yes, Windows gives you a tool. Yes, a lot of people use Norton Ghost. An image, doesn't matter what it is. What we do is make a machine that's got all of our applications and such on it, then create an image, and then we strip out all the security information. Then we put it on the server, and it gets pushed out. That image gets pushed out to all the other computers, so that we have the same set of applications on every computer in the organization.
Does that cost money?
No, it's a service that's available on Windows Server. The ImageX is not as easy to use as some of these other cloning softwares, imaging softwares. The other imaging softwares do cost money. ImageX, part of Microsoft Server, part of the automated installation kit, which is free. There is an ISO, and I think I've asked you to install it. There's an ISO, and I'll show you how to mount these ISOs on your virtual machines. That's already downloaded. It's a pretty big piece of software. Light touch. We don't want to answer any of the questions. Boot to the Windows PE environment. Windows pre-installation environment can be on its flash drive. This is one where actually I have to go boot. We can also boot the Windows PE boot to the NIC, the that's what we're talking about. Actually, we're not there. That is a Windows PE and Windows PE disk. You can also do a PXE boot, which is booting it from the NIC itself. Microsoft, these are just all the things that are available to do these high-powered installations. Zero touch, light touch, high touch. What it means is how much interaction are we going to have. The user state migration tool, the basic steps, and these are in the book. When you do, and I really do recommend it, and the other one, the second one, is to do a research and to do it, the migration, do a little bit of research. User state migration tool is command line. Windows Easy Transfer is GUI, so I'm betting on which one you're going to pick. It's the Easy Transfer is straightforward, but please read all what the screens say and that you get the stuff where you really want it to be. So install, not anything that requires brain surgery. Takes a little time, a little bit of configuration. The only thing that can actually be upgraded to Windows 7 is Vista Service Pack 1. Everything else has to be migrated or go through that convoluted upgrade process through Vista from XP. Choices are upgrade, fresh install, dual boot. Dual boot really is a fresh install. It's just that you keep the old operating system along with it. It's kind of like not trading your car in, but you're like me, I got my 30-year-old one and my 10-year-old one.
So you would recommend just keep both of them?
No, because I think you'll find that I have done that in the past. I won't do a boot because I may not like this. I've always liked the newer versions. Of course, I even like Windows 8 with Classic Shell.
Yeah, I like Windows 8 with Classic Shell now.
Questions? Probably ready for a break. And when you get back, we'll